Welcome back to Investing Talk podcast. Today, we are focusing intently on one of the most volatile and visible players in the digital asset space right now, American Bitcoin Corp.
Yeah, it's a company that's commanded huge attention, really just over the last few months. And the critical question we're looking at for you, the listener, is simple, but, well, it's difficult. Given all the recent noise, the structural shifts, the high-profile stuff, is this Bitcoin accumulation vehicle a good time to buy right now?
That's the mission, exactly. We've got stacks of sources here showing these massive structural changes and a huge stock surge, but also deeply conflicting financial metrics. Our goal is to try and cut through that hype, understand the actual risk and reward sort of lurking beneath all the excitement. And hey, if you enjoy this analysis, please remember to subscribe, like, and comment. We really appreciate it. Also, if there's a specific company you want us to look into, just leave a comment below.
Definitely. We have to look beyond that initial momentum, from the merger that got them listed. We need to weigh the, frankly, extraordinary high-risk profile against any potential reward. Specifically, we need to focus ruthlessly on two things: liquidity and operational efficiency. Because the scale they've achieved looks impressive, sure, but the underlying numbers, they tell a very challenging and honestly a precarious story.
Okay, let's unpack the structural momentum then. The story really kicks off, summer 2025?
That's right.
The major catalyst bringing us here was that planned merger between American Bitcoin Corp and Griffin Digital Mining. It was designed to create this unified powerhouse entity, and the news itself caused Griffin shares to surge, 23% by late August?
Exactly, 23%.
Oh.
But what's fascinating here, I think, is that creating this new entity wasn't just signing a paper. It needed a pretty significant structural fix beforehand. Griffin shareholders actually had to approve a mandatory 5-for-1 reverse stock split.
Just to meet Nasdaq listing requirements.
Right. Which, it signals strategic ambition, clearly. They want to play in the big leagues. But doesn't it also show a kind of fundamental weakness? Needing a reverse split just to get in the door.
I think you hit on a key point there. It's like a cleanup job before the main event starts. But the main event certainly arrived. Fast forward to September 3rd, the new ABTC entity debuts on Nasdaq, and the attention was immediate, massive. Shares opened up 33%, then climbed another 15% in early trading, pushing the market cap to a staggering $6.6 billion.
Huge visibility, almost overnight.
Yeah.
And that visibility wasn't just accidental. It seems driven by two factors. First, the immediate scale. Hut 8 holds an 80% majority stake in this new entity that provides massive operational infrastructure, immediate credibility in the mining space. Second, they very successfully positioned themselves as this premier U.S. Bitcoin infrastructure play, helped significantly by high-profile launch communications. We saw figures like Eric Trump, the co-founder and CSO, and Donald Trump Jr., who is a major stockholder involved in that.
Right, and that focus on U.S.-centric infrastructure combined with those high-profile names, it absolutely drives market sentiment, drove that initial surge. It's a great story they're telling.
It is a great narrative. That's the key distinction, I think. Because despite the scale, despite the endorsements, the moment they filed their initial paperwork, the professional market commentary immediately flagged huge operational caveats.
Like what?
Serious challenges. It's like negative gross margins, negative EBIT margins, and a high debt load. So that initial momentum, it was purely structural and speculative, driven by the narrative, not fundamentally supported, at least not yet.
Which brings us neatly to the core dilemma. And this is where the analysis, it gets complicated. For anyone learning about this company, this is that classic aha moment because we see these widely conflicting signals in the financials.
We really do. If you just look at the trailing 12 months, the TTM figure, say as of September 5th, 2025, the surface data looks almost dangerously attractive. TTM revenue was recorded at $69.89 million. And crucially, net income clocked in at $162.39 million.
Wait a minute, $162 million net income. That leads to a price to earnings, a PE ratio of just 2.25.
Right.
A PE of 2.25 in this sector. That looks ridiculously cheap compared to reported earnings. Why wouldn't every value investor jump on that immediately?
Because that 2.25 PE is almost certainly a statistical illusion. It likely reflects a significant one-off paper gain, maybe an accounting maneuver, an asset valuation adjustment tied to the merger itself. It is not a reflection of organic day-to-day operational profit. That's the critical piece of context you need.
Okay.
So when you look beyond that TTM headline, dig into the underlying operational efficiency data from Q2 2025, the reality just snaps into sharp focus.
And what does that operational reality look like? Is it bad?
It's stark.
Right.
In Q2, operating income was negative $2.23 million. Net income was negative $5.26 million. This confirms extreme volatility and really a fundamental lack of operating profit outside those one-off paper games. They are actively burning cash just to keep the lights on.
Wow. Those operational margins sound brutal then. If we look at the raw efficiency numbers, the EBITDA margin, that measures profitability before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization. It was reported at negative 446.4%.
Negative 4,146%. Yeah.
That's staggering.
That number isn't just a red flag. It signals, well, either a catastrophic failure in cost control or maybe just an extraordinary amount of front-loaded expenses that the merger hasn't absorbed yet. You simply cannot run a business long-term with that kind of cash burn.
And I guess that poor operational performance translates directly into major, urgent financial risks that every potential buyer needs to understand.
Absolutely.
Looking at the balance sheet, the total liabilities are clearly higher than assets. That results in negative stockholder equity of almost $11 million.
Negative equity is a huge structural problem, yeah. But the liquidity picture, that's what really keeps analysts up at night. Liquidity is the single most urgent risk factor here. The current ratio, which measures their short-term ability to pay liabilities, was a disastrous 0.1 in Q2 2025.
0.1. Let's just put that number into perspective for listeners. A ratio of 1.0 means they have exactly enough current assets to cover current liabilities, right?
Correct. 1 to 1.
A ratio of 0.1 means for every dollar of short-term debt or bills coming due, they only have 10 cents in readily available assets to cover it. That sounds dangerously close to a short-term crisis. How urgent is that gap?
It's critical. It's the difference between a growth story and a short-term solvency risk. You just can't maintain a high-growth narrative when you're facing such immediate glaring liquidity problems. And their free cash flow reflects this too. Estimated around negative $81 million as of mid-2025.
Okay.
So the story we have is incredible structural momentum, massive visibility, celebrity connections, but current operations are burning cash at an astonishing rate, and the balance sheet is weak to the point of potential structural failure.
So the entire bullish case, really, it relies completely on the future, not the present situation.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the operational catalyst that might just save the day. The company clearly isn't standing still. In October, they announced an aggressive expansion, jumping their hash rate from 10 exahashes per second up to 24 exahashes per second.
And that's the ultimate indicator of their commitment to that narrative, right? The idea that scale equals future cost efficiency and Bitcoin accumulation. They're betting that if they just mine more, they'll eventually secure structural cost advantages that overcome the current margin problems. It's a big bet.
A very big bet.
But all eyes are focused on one event now, the Q3 2025 earnings report. It's scheduled for either October 30th or November 8th.
That report feels like the key inflection point. It determines if all that structural momentum was actually worth the financial risk they took on.
Precisely. That report will be intensely scrutinized. People will be looking to see if those synergistic benefits from the HUD-8 partnership and the merger integration have finally begun to chip away at those awful negative EBITDA figures, those weak cost controls. If they show legitimate progress, even just a path towards closing that gap between assets and liabilities, the narrative could change overnight. The stock could really move.
And beyond the earnings report, what other near-term events should traders or maybe longer-term investors be keeping an eye on?
Well, you have institutional activity looming. Specifically, institutional ETF portfolio rebalancing happens in November. That can significantly move the stock based on, fund inclusions or exclusions. There are also expansion initiatives expected, probably fueled by all that cash burn, like the rumored block acquisition announcement around December 1st.
Okay.
And given the high-profile nature of their leadership, there's always ongoing speculation. Future political endorsements, maybe, or perhaps a major Bitcoin ETF collaboration that could boost sentiment further. Lots of potential news flow.
Turning to the technical side for a moment, the price action really reflects everything we've just discussed. It's been extremely volatile.
Oh, absolutely.
The stock surged nearly 460%, moving from about $1.51 to $8.45 right after the merger.
Massive historic momentum, but it has definitely cooled off since then. The volatility remains extremely high, though, around 13.56% daily. This is absolutely not for the faint of heart.
No kidding.
For short-term traders, if they can stomach that, there are key levels to watch. Support seems to be holding around $6.21 currently. Resistance is up at $8.77. Now, if we see a breakout above $8.77, and importantly, it's with strong, sustained volume, there's clear technical upside potential, maybe towards $10 over the next quarter or so.
Okay, so synthesizing all this conflicting information, the huge potential, the massive risks, what's the final assessment of American Bitcoin Core?
Well, American Bitcoin Corp is really the textbook definition of a high-risk, high-reward profile. Recent technical analysis actually assigns it an overall bullish rating, about 7.5 out of 10. But, and this is a huge but, that optimism is entirely based on those structural catalysts we talked about and the potential for a technical breakout if, say, the earnings surprise positively.
But the risks you outlined, they're non-negotiable, right? They have to be addressed.
Absolutely non-negotiable. That upside potential is entirely contingent on successful execution of the merger integration, actually turning around those deeply negative operational margins, and most urgently, solving the immediate financial risk posed by that dire 0.1 current ratio and the negative stockholder equity. If they fail to show real operational improvement in Q3, the entire bullish thesis is punctured, and that momentum will likely just evaporate.
So it really comes down to investment horizon and maybe risk tolerance. How should someone listening approach the stock? Is it a buy now situation for anyone?
It depends. Short-term traders, those who can stomach the extreme daily swings, might try to capitalize on upcoming catalysts like the earnings report or that institutional rebalancing in November. But for the long-term investor, I'd say patience is paramount here. You really need to wait until after the merger results are clear, after the initial synergy execution is disclosed. You need to see if a sustainable operational turnaround is actually viable. Because fundamentally, this is still a turnaround story. It just happens to have a $6 billion plus valuation attached to it right now.
Okay. So to leave you, the listener, with a final thought, the core question to consider, maybe not just for ABTC, but for the whole digital mining sector, is this. Does sheer scale, even when it's currently being funded by high debt and operational losses, does that guarantee future cost advantages in an anticipated crypto bull market?
Or does that immediate liquidity risk, represented by that 0.1 current ratio, does that ultimately trump all future growth narratives, regardless of celebrity endorsements or how high the hash rate goes?
That decision really hinges on the data.
It hinges entirely on the data coming out around those late October, early November earnings dates. We'll be watching closely. Thanks for joining us for this analysis today.